All right, this is all about Bitcoin, a show dedicated to all things questions and markets related to Bitcoin, little b for the currency, and Bitcoin, big B for the network. A collective journey to understand, apply, and use this innovation, all Bitcoin, all the time. I'm your host, Christine Lee. Let's check in on Bitcoin right now. The CoinDesk Bitcoin price XBX index is currently trading above $51,000 at $51,280. The most reliable reference prices for institutions since 2014 are now published under the CoinDesk brand, trusted globally as the leader in crypto news, events, and data.
The chart of the day is brought to you by Crypto.com, the world's fastest growing crypto app.
All right, Bitcoin launching a faint Santa Claus rally, shooting past 51,000, according to CoinDesk indexes, after falling below $50,000 on Sunday. But overall, crypto trading activity was mostly muted on Christmas Day and the day after, Boxing Day in the UK and Canada. This chart by the CoinDesk research team, using Crypto Compare data, tracks Bitcoin's trading volume across major centralized exchanges like Binance in blue, Huobi in purple, OKX in orange, and Coinbase in green there, showing a clear decline in trading volumes over the holiday weekend. Notably, crypto OTC desk B2C2 noting their flow data shows strong buying across all geographic regions, reflecting crypto's recent rally, with strong bias towards the buy side from all client types except for banks, which are notably the only net sellers over the past week. Bitcoin is on track to end 2021 up with an over 70% gain for the year. Joining us now to discuss is Steve Ehrlich, founder and CEO of Voyager Digital. Hello there, Steve. Thanks for joining us. So, can you confirm trading volumes have been a little low over the past week? What trading trends do you find most interesting over the holidays?
Well, thanks for having me again. Appreciate being here. But yeah, as your chart showed, I think the volumes that we've seen across all the exchanges and marketplaces have been a little bit lighter over the last week to 10 days. I think that's people just managing their positions, getting ready to start the new year, closing off some tax positions, getting ready to enter 2022 with a clean slate. We have seen that volume, but the other side of that is the altcoins have actually gotten some extra volume in the last week too. But from a Bitcoin perspective, less volume, there's less volatility, right? I mean, it did go below 50,000 24 hours or so ago, then it bounced back, but we're trading in range. And I think, once we hit the new year, we'll see it break out of that range. Maybe we'll get a late Santa Claus rally here into New Year's, but I'm expecting a lot more volume come into the new year.
It's funny you should say, because CoinDesk's DeFi index is shooting past 31%. Why do you think that is, that we're just seeing this huge activity in DeFi versus Bitcoin, a little more muted?
Yeah, look, I think there's a lot of opportunity in the DeFi land. There's a couple of coins that we've seen specifically that have driven a lot of interest, and that's Avalanche, that's the Sandbox, that's Luna. Obviously, Luna's been up, I think, almost 100%, from a month ago. And then Nervos, we've seen a lot of activity there. And I think people are starting to gravitate to some of these protocols that are getting some adoption, that are starting to see more and more consumers start to use, in a little bit of ways, more so than Ethereum. So we're starting to see that with those four coins in particular over the last week or so, as the prices have increased on those as well.
So interesting. What are your top predictions for 2022?
I actually think, I think the market itself is going to explode. I think NFTs have really started showing some of the use case of all the protocols. And so I think 2022 will be the real adoption. 2021, we saw more and more people come in. We're going to see a huge influx of consumers coming in 2022. I think some of the institutions will start coming in even to a higher degree now, as they see some of these protocols really actually take hold and actually have projects behind them. And you're starting to see a lot of venture money come into a lot of the protocols as well. So I think 2022, we're going to see this explosion of crypto across Bitcoin and all the altcoins.
What's your shorter term outlook for Bitcoin, let's say in the first quarter of 2022 versus a more long-term prediction of where the price is headed by the end of the year?
Yeah, I think in the first part, January people start resetting. So the first quarter might be a little slow in that, but I think as we start getting into the second quarter of the year and into the summer, you're going to see even more projects come on board through a lot of the protocols. And I think you'll start seeing price increases more towards, the summer months, into the April, May, June, and into the summer months. You'll see a lot more activity come at that point in time. I think we'll still see a little bit muted in the first month or two, but then you'll see a lot of activity, after that.
Do you have any price predictions?
My last price prediction wasn't spot on. So look, I think we'll see 100,000 by June, the latest, actually.
Everyone has a different answer. Okay. Other than that, I see you posting those courtside Dallas Mavericks tickets. And for anyone watching, don't look up on Netflix. Voyager made a small cameo. So you're doing a lot to normalize Bitcoin in everyday lives, which will be key as governments around the world look to develop regulatory frameworks for the crypto industry in the new year. How do you believe regulation should be shaped?
I think every country is starting to look at it probably differently than they did 12 months ago, because I think you're seeing this adoption. There's a lot of retail holdings behind a lot of, the currencies, Bitcoin, in particular. And I think people are trying to figure out the best way to actually bring fair and reasonable regulation to the marketplace. And I think you'll start seeing more of that in the US as well, because I think there's thoughtful regulation is important to the growth of the industry. And whether it's on the trading side or coin side, this thoughtful regulation will really help the industry grow. And then when you do see things like our little cameo in Don't Look Up, and more and more crypto companies into sports, us with the Mavericks, as you mentioned, you're seeing this adoption. I think that thoughtful regulation will really bring a whole new level of consumers into the marketplace who are really trying to find a way to come in and want regulation to actually enter the space.
Mm-hmm. So governments are looking at it, but also people who are building the industry are looking at it, specifically Jack Dorsey, and he's brought up this debate about Bitcoin versus Web3 and VC investors coming into the fold and trying to promote decentralization versus centralization among a couple of entities. I wonder, where do you fall in that budding debate?
Yeah, I don't have a clear-cut opinion on that. Doing a lot of research on it, but I think with any innovation, actually, there are early adopters. A lot of the early adopters investors tend to be VC funds, so they do jump in early and take risk with that. But I haven't really gone through this and come up with my own opinion yet that I want to share. That I think I'm still evaluating where it goes. I think Web3 is extremely interesting. The metaverse is interesting. A lot of our customers are asking us what we're doing about it, and we're going to come out with some items in 2022. But there's still a lot of ground to be developed, and we're still trying to form our opinion.
All right, Steve. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate you coming on. That was Voyager Digital CEO, Steve Ehrlich. Always a pleasure. All right, coming up, we'll have more on the mining industry with Marathon Digital.
Hi, I'm Christine Lee.
Zach Seward.
I'm Michael Casey.
I'm Christy Harkin.
I'm Isaiah Jackson.
I'm Serena Lynn.
Hey, this is Will Foxley.
I'm Teresa Santos.
Hi, I'm Lawrence Lewitton.
Hi, I'm Doreen Wayne.
I'm Nicolas Day.
Hi, I'm Kevin Worth.
My name is Naomi Brockwell.
I'm Jordan Muthra.
Hi, I'm Galen Moore.
Hi, I'm Brad Count.
I'm Pete Paschal.
Hi, I'm Jen Sanasi. You're watching.
And you are watching.
And you're watching CoinDesk TV.
All right, welcome back. An economic group allied to the ideological organization behind India's ruling party has for the first time revealed its stance on cryptocurrencies, demanding a ban on private digital currencies. A resolution passed at the 15th National Convention of the Swadeshi Jagran Manch in the Indian city of Gwalior also quickly sought a law to issue a central bank digital currency to be considered as legal tender, and supported the exploration of blockchain technology. Meanwhile, the world's largest crypto exchange, Binance, scoring a couple of wins on the road towards becoming fully regulated. Bahrain is the first Middle Eastern North African country to give Binance approval in principle to establish itself as a crypto asset service provider upon completion of a full application process. Binance also registering with FinTrack, Canada's anti-money laundering and anti-terrorism financing regulator. And finally, Marathon Digital will expand its hash rate or mining speed by 600% with record purchases of Bitcoin miners. The Las Vegas-based miner expects to have almost 200,000 operational miners generating over 23 exahashes by early 2023. And joining us now to discuss is Marathon Digital Holdings CEO, Fred Thiel. Hello there, Fred. Thanks for joining us there. So Marathon has made multiple large purchases of miners throughout the year. And in October, the company secured a $100 million revolving line of credit with Silvergate to fund Bitcoin mining operations and to acquire new equipment, which I see you're doing that right now. So what is the philosophy of or underlying assumptions behind this strategy?
Well, we believe, as do many others, that the global hash rate is going to grow by a significant amount next year. If you look at Biduda's numbers, essentially it's a 100% increase from the end of this year to the end of next year. So as a Bitcoin miner, if you're going to be dependent on revenues from your mining, essentially, if the Bitcoin global hash rate doubles, you're going to have half as many Bitcoin that you're going to win. Unless you grow your hash rate compared to your competitors. So this is part of us growing market share. It's part of us, really growing and trying to be the leading miner in the industry and focused on doing what we can to really make sure that we secure the blockchain and secure North America's role in the blockchain going forward.
And so just how profitable is Bitcoin mining right now for Marathon Digital?
Essentially, our average cost to mine a Bitcoin, energy, hosting, the depreciation around the hosting, if you would, all in is about $6,200. So if you figure Bitcoin at $51,000, you can see the profitability there. Key is obviously the sooner you can deploy more miners, the sooner you can take advantage of your growth in hash rate. And I think we're going to see a substantial explosion in the hash rate between now and the next halvening. And unless dynamics change and miners start selling the coins that they're mining, we're going to continue to see a nice uptick in the price of Bitcoin. And hopefully going into the next halvening, the increase in Bitcoin will match essentially the global hash rate growth. But we'll have to see that. Nothing's definite in that regard. The only thing we can control is the growth of our own hash rate.
Right. And so what is Marathon doing with the Bitcoin it's accumulating? Are you selling, using it as collateral?
So we use part of it as collateral when we need to borrow money. We currently don't have anything outstanding on the $100 million line with Silvergate. We're also doing some yield generation activities around lending out the Bitcoin. We're going to be doing a number of other things which don't involve us essentially selling the Bitcoin or in any way sort of losing control of it, if you would. But we'll do some options, some hedging, some other things that'll generate a nice yield on the Bitcoin.
I recently saw a chart showing, Bitcoin miner unspent supply. It's reaching a record high in terms of miners keeping their Bitcoin. Do you see this as a trend among miners? And will that reduce overall selling pressure on Bitcoin going forward?
Well, I think if you look at 900 Bitcoin made per day, awarded per day, and the vast majority of the large miners are holding their Bitcoin, then there's no new supply going into the marketplace. What is going to drive selling from miners is going to be their capital needs to be able to continue to grow, continue to buy miners, and continue to fund their growth operations. They're either going to have to tap equity markets, tap credit markets, or sell their Bitcoin. And depending on what happens with the price of Bitcoin, depending on what happens with the price in the equity markets, we'll have to see kind of how most of the miners decide to go forward. We did a large capital raise through a convertible debt offering, bond offering that we did this fall in November. We raised a little over $700 million through that at very attractive terms. So we were essentially well capitalized to make this large purchase that we did. Other miners aren't really in that situation, and they're going to have to go to market to raise money. So they may be forced to sell Bitcoin to continue to grow.
Fred, what are some of your top predictions for 2022?
I think 2022 is going to be a great year for crypto overall. There will be a regulatory framework put forward. I know Senator Lummis has got some ideas and thoughts about what she wants to do, but I also know that what the SEC is looking to do is really try and bring anybody operating in the sort of crypto lending, accepting crypto deposits, crypto exchanges, bring those companies into the existing regulatory frameworks that exist. When that happens, you'll build more consumer confidence in these companies, which will be a boon really to the DeFi business and exchanges. I think you're going to see a number of layer 2 applications come out on the Bitcoin blockchain having to do with things like identity and essentially staking your reputation with Bitcoin. So imagine a world, and this is something Michael Saylor has spoken about recently, where if you wanted to be a Twitter authority, you had to stake a certain amount of Bitcoin, maybe 100,000 Satoshis or $40, $50 essentially. And anybody who wanted to reach out to you or contact you may also have to have a certain amount of Bitcoin staked. That is a way to really prevent spam, for example. It's a great way to prevent and make it much harder for people to create fake accounts and do things. So I think we're going to start seeing Bitcoin and crypto being used as a way to validate identities. We're going to start seeing layer 2 blockchain projects around personal identity, KYC, healthcare, some really exciting things. And that's going to drive more adoption of Bitcoin. One thing that we're going to see executed in 2022, I think also is the development of this project that FIS and NYDIG announced earlier this year, where essentially FIS, who is a large back office systems provider to banks across the US and internationally, is going to roll out crypto custody and trading to potentially up to 300 million bank accounts in the US. And so while that doesn't necessarily mean that millions of Bitcoin will be leaving the market, as soon as you get 10, 20 million people buying 100,000 Satoshis, half a Bitcoin, something like that, it starts sucking up liquidity from the marketplace. And if the miners aren't selling and the consumers are buying, then Bitcoin only has one direction to go, which is up.
Mass adoption, a very exciting preview there, Fred. Thanks for joining us. That was Marathon Digital Holdings CEO, Fred Thiel. All right, that's it for All About Bitcoin. I'm your host, Christy Lee, and I'm off for the rest of the week. Have a safe, restful, and peaceful holiday. You're watching CoinDesk TV. See you in the new year.